Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miela Braik. I'm continuing my study of the Silver Scroll, and this scroll was found in Jerusalem a number of years ago. I happen to have had the opportunity to work in the same site, although some years after the initial discovery, so it had absolutely nothing to do with the process of the discovery, but I did have a chance to see the place later. So I have a little sense of where it was and what they were looking at when they did find it. But it's kind of interesting in going through the study here that in Job 19, verses 23, 24, 25, there's actually a very precise description of what it takes to produce a silver scroll. I've got a replica here of foil, and I rescued a darning needle out of my mom's sewing stuff. Somebody had to sit down and scratch the inscription, had to put it on there with a scratched on. It's scratched on with an iron pen. And 100 years ago, people would read this. What is an iron pen? Once the silver scroll was found, it became very clear what an iron pen was. There apparently were different sizes. There was a small size like this for the scroll, and a larger one for chopping into rock. In other words, when it got that large, you could call it a chisel. But when it's really small like this, we call it a pen. So, it's in fact today, modern Hebrew, talking about a pen, you're talking about an et. So there it is. This word has come to us also in modern Hebrew. But Job 19 is a very interesting description of what it takes to put together the silver scroll. Here I have a picture of the silver scroll as it was found, and the inscription that's on this inscription is scratched on. It's marked on with an iron stylus, an iron pen. And now Job 19:23 says, "Who marks it down now, so that my words are written? Who marks it down on a scroll and carves them out?" So it's a question, sort of a rhetorical question here. Who is? I've gone back to the paleographic sense of the word right here, geten, with the tau right in the middle. Okay, so this is the mark. Then who marks it? So this is actually a very, very literal translation based on the tau. Who marks it? Who puts that mark down? And it's a question, a rhetorical question. Who marks it down now? Yekakov Bun, and who is writing it out? La, and so my words are written out. Okay, Mila. This incident, Milel and Mila, it's got to where the accenting goes, so you can remember it that way. I'm not really sure if there's a connection there with the positioning of the accent, but actually the accenting on our Milel, on the accenting of a word that happens to be Milra over here, the atna is pushed towards the end. If it's pushed towards the front, well, then it's a Milel. This one's a Milel right here, so nice little Milel. Separate, of course, in its base root is a Milel. So Mila, my words, possessive word here of Mila, me, and then who marks it, who writes it out, or who inscribes it. Besefer, in a roll. Okay, sefer is the rolled up scroll, a scroll. Yuhuku, and it is carved out. Okay, it is carved out by them. Okay, it is carved out. And this is a plural because the words here, it's plural right here. My words, and those things are carved out. Who carves them down onto the scroll? Who takes the stylus and marks it down? Okay, who does that? And the answer comes here: Be'et barzel. Okay, with a pen of iron. Okay, barzel. This is a four-letter root. Okay, you don't see a whole lot of four-letter roots, but this is one of them. Okay, barzel. This is so barzel, iron. Okay, ofrat. This is lead. Now, we're talking here about basur. Basur is solid rock. Okay, this is Beit Sur, and when we're talking about the Shalom inscription, the Shalom Chronicle, that's on a sur, that's on a rock. And a sur is the kind of rock that's stuck into the ground. It's part of the ground. It's solid. It ain't going anywhere. Okay, who carves it onto the basur? Who puts it onto a solid rock And this is then forever, le'ad, and forever, on a solid rock, yehahotz, boom, they are hewn, they are chopped away, they're hacked into the rock. So it's, first of all, it's said, now this is it's barzel, and with an iron pen. When we're talking about sur, we're going to be talking about a large iron pen, a chisel, and we're talking about a shefer, a book of scroll like this. We're talking about a small one, so there's a difference in size, but what it is of its name, it's the same thing. You're going to have a large one for rock and a small one for the scroll. Brings us to a very interesting passage here. I know that my Redeemer lives, and after it all, he rises over the dust of the grave. Now, this is Afar. This Afar right here, we'll start with that. We find that in Genesis 1, 2, and God speaking to Adam. You've come from dust, and to dust you will return. And also, when Adam was created, God gathered together the afar, the dust, and he breathed into the dust, and he made man from the dust. And so dust is a very interesting quantity. It isn't just dust, but it's the dust that can receive life through the breath of God. So, this kind of dust is certainly, we find it. When the scroll was discovered, it was found with approximately half a meter of dust. There was a lot of dirt inside, and among all the dirt, there was a lot of interesting stuff, including our scroll. And so it's a very interesting passage. Vani yodati, and I know, I am knowing, I know. Goli, my Redeemer, very key word, of course, of the book of Ruth. You find it quite a few times throughout the book of Ruth, the Redeemer. Hi, he lives. He is living. He's still alive. Okay. Aharon, and after it all over. Okay. Aharon. This is Acher with an emphatic on the end, emphatic nun. They'll call this a periodic nun. I think the dictionary just sort of listed as the way it is here. But Aharon, and afterwards, Al Hafar, on the dust, Yakum, he stands up. He becomes, raises up from the dust. Brings up to the Job 19:26, Vahar, and then afterwards. Now we've seen Aharon before, now it's Ahar, after. Then afterwards, Ore. This here, skin, best translation here is robes, and in fact, get back to the original robes that God, when Adam and Eve were thrown out of the Garden of Eden, they had first started to cover themselves with the leaves from the local tree, from the fig tree, but that had dried up. In my classes in Merida, bring a fig leaf to the class, and during the span of the class, the whole thing dries up. So it's very poor use of the leaves to make clothing. But God makes us really good clothing, and this is it, ore, okay? Really good clothing, the good robe that God makes there in Genesis 3, and clothes Adam. He also clothes us, you know. So this is these kind of robes. So after, and then my robes, nikav, they surround. This word, we'll see this when the people of Israel are walking around the city of Jericho. They're going nikav. They're hiking around it, okay, nikav. So it's a whole sense of surrounding something. Find it quite a bit, also in relationship with that word, surround. So nekavu zot, in this way, just so. O mibashere, and in my flesh, echazet eloch. Okay. Now, if you try to use this one as the object of this verb, it's not good. It has to be in an apposition. It has to be in a positive. And you go, I am strengthened. I get a grip on myself. I was going to translate it as I wake up and I see a new morning, but I get a grip on myself. Ehezeh. In other words, this, by the way, is the same root as Heskiyahu, Hezekiah. In other words, so I make get strong in the morning, get myself rolling, and wrap myself up in my robe. I'm facing the day, so it's I'm waking up to a new day. Eloach, oh God, wow! This then is an exclamatory sense here the relationship of this verse with here. I wake up, oh God, that's a good thing that you bring that robe around me. In other words, each morning, I suppose it's very true that when you get yourself clothed in the morning, it's just the same way as it's a time to remember that God most certainly clothed Adam and Eve before sending them out of the garden. Same verb again here, hezeh, and first person prefix form of hezek, and independent pronoun here, which and when, ani, hezek, and then when I get a grip on myself, li, on myself here. Here we do have a preposition with a pronoun at the end here. I get a grip on myself. I strengthen myself. Hezeh, li. Ve'ani, and my eyes, roe, they see him, because it's a reference to God, as we saw in the previous one. We have to look back to that. What is it? What is that we see? I see him, and not another. Okay, I don't see any other ones. I'm not looking for other gods. No, I'm not looking for anything else but God. Okay, I see him. Kolu, kaliti, beheke, heki, and it all comes together in my heke, that's inside here. Inside's my. Incidentally, this is used also for kidneys, but here doing a very literal translation of kidneys, not quite correct. And the heke is pretty close translation of my gut, my insides, things I really feel inside, so heke. If I'm going to have a stomachache, this is where I'm going to feel it right here. So, and incidentally, an English way to remember this particular word is colitis. Okay, colitis. I feel it in my colon, and in a sense, that's where it's all. It's this one and this one are all based on the root of all, or the end. Things come to an end. Okay, so what's at the end of my food system? It's my colitis. It's coliti. Okay? It all comes to the end. It all comes to a close at the other end, so that's where I feel it. Okay, it all comes together in my gut. One of the, incidentally, it is a very hard. You'll go through and just start comparing all the translations. This one's a little hard one to work through, but I keep it very much on a material level, and then from a material level, it does go to some very significant things. And backtrack to Job 19:21. For I know, okay, vani and I, okay, very much an independent pronoun here. Yadati, I know, and this is something I know constantly. It's first person suffix, the form of this verb, and I know. Goli, my Redeemer, the one who brings me back. And Goli here, when we understand it in terms of what happens to the tomb, we are going to be brought to the tomb. Okay, we're going to go into the afar. In other words, this afar here, we've come from the afar. We will return to the afar, but the Goli comes along and says, "Oh, from this afar you'll be lifted up out of the afar." He comes out of that afar. He was brought to afar. He returned from the afar. The fact that Jesus was brought to the tomb and then rose from the tomb is very much a matter of a lot of confidence for us to know that he conquers afar, and he has the ability to take afar, which has died, and restore to afar that has life. In other words, high here. So, ani yodati goli high, ve'aharon al hafar yakum, and from the dust of the grave he arises. He arose, and we also have that confidence in knowing that we also will arise with Christ when it comes to that final day, Aharon, at the end. We arise with him into glory. May God bless, and may you place your confidence and trust on our Redeemer, this Redeemer here, which is Christ. May God bless. Until the next time.